Hello folks. In my last videos, I was walking through how we can build the API in Spring Boot, and in this video, we are gonna see how we can build the Angular from the scratch to call the external API. And if you didn't get a chance to how to build the API, I highly recommend go to watch the API build in Spring Boot. You can go to my YouTube channel, this channel Techie House. I just given from the basic how you can install Eclipse and set up the Spring Boot. Then you can create some Hello API. So we're going to use that API for this tutorial. So I'm going to create this all the component, and I'm going to invoke this API and get the result and show in the HTML. I'm going to build that from the scratch. Let me show you how a result will looks like. Let's see, look at that. So this is Angular currently running. When I just click the get in name, it gets the name. Basically the name it's returned from the Spring Boot running in my local application. So you can whatever you change here, it will come there. It's very simple to understand how the API works in Angular. um, let's get started. So you see my code is running here. I'm going to stop the service. Let me build a new Angular from the scratch so you'll understand how the Angular API works. Let's get started. Open your terminal. To create any new Angular, it's very simple. I hope you already installed all Angular and Node.js. If not, please go to my previous videos where I explain how to install Node.js Angular. Okay, let's create a new project. To create a new project, it's very simple. ng new the project name, my first API learning. So now I created the and I say yes to add the Angular routing. And so the Angular will create the template for us. It's very simple and straightforward. So now it's Angular is creating all the required files for us. It will take a few seconds, it won't take much time. um, so Angular installing all the packages, it's downloading all the libraries for the application. So look at that, it downloads all the required files. Done. So now I created my application. Let's do. So I got the application created, my first API learning. So let me go on to my directory where I have it. Okay. So I have my file created. So let me open a new window. And if you don't know how to use this, the Visual Studio, I already have a video. I highly recommend watch that video. Do you understand how you can set up? Now let me go straight here, the directory. I think this one, this is the one we created. So now we open the I did not create any file here. This is all created by Angular. These files, all the files are inside the template. Let's see what's there. So how to run the program? Just click new terminal. You got the window. Now just simply let's see what we have in the default template. To run the application, Angular, you just need to fire ng serve. It will start building your application and start running it in the browser, so you can look at the browser once built complete. Okay, good. So now build is success. If you look at that, you look at it's running in the localhost 4200. Let's go to localhost 400. um, I get this is the default template we have in the Angular. We don't need all those things, you can just remove. So everything is available under the, if you go to app module and you can open the HTML. Let me remove everything. I saved it if you go back, you don't see anything because we removed the default template. I hope you know how to create the base Angular. If not, I highly recommend go and watch my videos. This lesson I'm going to mostly focus on the API, how it can create API. Okay, so let's stay. I'm going to create a very um, simple HTML. This is my first API learning. Save that. You see this coming. Let's create a label. The label I will call it get my name is that's it. And I'm going to have a button. Let's say the button is this is the button. I will call the button name is get my name. Okay, so now let me put that. So now you got the label and button. And if you don't know how to use HTML in the Angular, I highly recommend go and watch these videos. I have how to install and how to use the basic Angular, how to create the components, and what is the purpose of each component, and where you have to place your code. Okay, so now we got the basic template where you have a name. So the objective is when I get my name, when you click that, you get nothing. So what we're trying to do is when you click the button, it should call the service. Service will call something exposing the API. Let's say I have already API running. Look at that. So when you hit that API, you get result the name. So we are going to call the API. So let's do that. So now you have HTML. Let's go to this file. So this is a TS file where you write your all the TypeScript. So what I'm going to do is here I'm going to create a function, get my name. Okay, this is the function and this is the definition. So when I click the button, let's say in Angular, when I click click, right? When I click that, I need to call this function, and Angular you can specify this one. So now what will happen is when I click this one, it will fire this function, and you have function defined in the here. It says error. What it says, get my name does not exist in app component. Okay, in my mistake. It's the app component, right? So I'm looking at the app component. So I have this file. Now it compiled successfully after save. So now what will happen is whenever I click this button, it'll just invoke the method. So now what we have to do is whenever we invoke this in this method, we need to call the API. So look at that. So I have Angular, I have a button. When I click the button, it calls this TS file in the app component TS. And this actually is always, it's a good practice to write your all the API in a service, not in the Angular component itself. So let's create a service. So how do we create a service? Very simple. So even if you want to create any component or service, you need to fire ng generate. Let's say service name is service API service. What it says. Okay, so I just ng generate service. It'll ask service name, so I can say service name is API service. So look at that. After I given that, I got two files generated. This is service and TypeScript, and this is test file. So let me open the service. So now we got the service. So the first thing is we have to do in order to you need HTTP to invoke in access any API. So first you have to import HTTP component in your main module. So for that, let's go here. So here you need to import HTTP. Let me copy that. It's a simple import. I think, let me go here. I have this handy, so just simply copy, paste here. So now you have a HTTP client model. If you don't have that, it won't work. So make sure that you import the HTML HTTP client module on your app model.ts and just import that. That's it. So now you get that. So now it's compiled. Now let's go to the service. Where is the service? API service here. Now just import HTTP client. So now you got a HTTP client. So just to make sure you imported HTML module in the app module. If you don't import, you will not get a HTTP client. So there's a small mistake. Many developers do that. So now we are good. So in Angular, if you want to use any important model, you need to define in the constructor. So let's define the constructor HTTP. So now we are good to use this HTTP. So now what I'm going to do is very simple. So I'm going to define a method. That method called public get name. So this one, so what I'm going to do is it's going to return the HTTP dot get. So I'm going to call a HTTP method. So what it did actually, so I'm going to use this HTTP and it has multiple methods. If you know the REST API, we have different methods: get method, post method, and delete, update. So I'm going to use get method to get the result. I'm going to get the result from this API. So let's define the URL. So what's the URL I given? Let me go here. So here's the URL. When I hit this URL API, I need to get the name. This is very simple. You can just give the URL name. You need to specify any variable is this. So now you get the URL. So now we are good. So this will call this method. So now you have service is ready. What's the next thing is you need to call the service from the component module. Let's go back to the component module. So you have the method. In this method, you have to import any service. You have to import the service so that you can invoke them. API. So it's distance. So now I imported the service. As I said earlier, if you want to use any import file or any import service, you need to define inside the constructor so that you can use it. Private, let's say API service colon, this is the service name. Okay, good. So now I'm good. I'm ready to use this API. So what I'm going to do, very simple. This is API. Look at that. I got the method. I have it in service class. So I get method, very simple. So method, right now we don't pass any parameters. So what we are trying to do is just we are going to call the method and we are going to subscribe. So here's the tweak. Many people get confused. So what actually we're trying to do is you're trying to subscribe for the API. In Angular, there is nothing called you get the response. You have to subscribe. When you subscribe, it keep getting the package. When I say package, it may not become under one single call. The small data may come in all together in a subscribe method, which means that it's like a subscribing. So when you subscribe, you will keep getting the data until you can use the data once the subscription is finished or the data is completely received. So how do we know the data is completely finished? That's why you need to use three components. Let's say I get the response here. and I need to assign the response. Let's say I have variable response any, so I get this response. Let's say API response this dot API response. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to assign whatever response come back from the Angular API. I'm going to assign that. Another method you can define if it is error. Very simple. If it is error, uh, same thing you're gonna do it. You can display in the console there's something error, log error received. Now the third one is really important. Third one is the real response after you get all the value completed from the service. Here we are going to assign the real value. Let's say here I have define a variable called name. So this is the real name we are going to get from the response. So what I'm going to do is whenever, so it keeps storing the response, whatever data coming from the API in the API response tag, and this tag will be triggered only when the entire response received. So what I'm going to do is once entire response received, I'm going to assign this to name so that it will get assigned to the name this response. So now you get that. So now once entire response received, it will assign to this name. But if you look at that, right, so if you look at how the response will in the format of JSON. So you need to get that result. So say result. So I'm going to access a result. So basically the value will the inside the result key value pair. So I get the response. Now I think you're good. So now you assigned everything. So now what we're going to do is the response whatever received from the API, I'm just going to put that here. The one-way binding. If you don't know how to define one-way binding in the variable, I highly recommend go back to watch my the Angular basic how to use it, so that I explained from the scratch. So now I think we're good. Let's test it how it comes. So very good. So now look at that. Now I get the Peter value because the Peter value is coming from this one. Let's say let me stop the service and let me give value as uh, John. So I saved John. Let me run this my application now. Let me run this application. So my application started running. So now I just change the name as John. Now I have to get John. Look at that value change. So whatever the API exposed, we receive the data. So now you learned how to define the basic API, how you get the response, how you can store in HTML. I think now we define the entire component. So you get the name here and assign back to the HTML. So user could able to see that. Thank you all for watching. I think now you learned how to create the basic API. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel and you can like my video because I put a lot of effort to prepare and understand and I want to explain to you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.